Travis Hunter, cornerback and wide receiver. But today we're going to break down what he brings to an NFL offense as a wide receiver. He is a first-round prospect. We're going to talk about that and more coming up next.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Locked On family? Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast. Cover your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. You can find and follow me on X at DP_NFL. I'm a senior draft analyst, and thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. And you know, I got to kick this intro to Mr. LSU himself, Keith Sanchez. You can find and follow him on X at TheTalentCode. Can you talk to him, baby?
What's up, Locked On family? Let's get locked in. This is Keith Sanchez, 2019 national champ, man, and the other side to this dynamic duo that we like to call the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. Want to start this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers, man. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. Every listen is greatly appreciated, man, as we are into the scouting notebook, which means that we are breaking down these 2025 NFL draft prospects. We are bringing them to you first, man. Our first looks, our first synopsis of who these players are. DP, earlier in the week, was that yesterday, day before yesterday, we talked about Travis Hunter, the defensive back. You had glowing reviews. You said this guy is probably the best cornerback in this class, quote unquote, I believe, DP. But we have to go back to this, and we have to talk about Travis Hunter, the playmaker, the wide receiver. Let's see if he gets a top 10 grade. Then we're going to talk about interior offensive lineman from Alabama. Yes, another guy, Mr. 6'5", 330 himself, Tyler Booker. And then we're going to finish up with cornerback Jabbar Muhammad. So, DP, let's get this conversation going, man, with one of the most polarizing prospects, two-way player. They want him to play 90 snaps a game at the University of Colorado. Played cornerback. We did that breakdown. Let's break him down as a wide receiver.
Travis Hunter as a wide receiver, Keith, is a first-round prospect. If he played full-time wide receiver, he's a top 15 pick in my honest opinion.
Like at wide receiver.
At wide receiver. 100%.
Just a day or two ago, less than 48 hours ago, right? I believe you said that he was a first-round pick as a defensive back, as a corner. So you believe
top five, matter of fact, if I remember correctly.
I think you said top five. So the same, well, not the same, but it stands true that he's a top 15 pick as a wide receiver also.
100%. 6'1", let's say 6'1", 185. I think I talked about his athleticism. He's explosive, dynamic, and you see a lot of that even more when he's at wide receiver. And it's crazy to watch him line up, face press man coverage, and a speed release, and watch him pull away from guys relatively easily, right? But also you see it at the catch point. He can go up over defenders with ease. Outstanding leaper, right? Body control, just ridiculous ability to jump and play above the rim. I think it was against Washington State. Go ball, double coverage. You got the safety over the top. You got the corner right there. Both defenders are in position in front of him, Keith, boxing him out. And he goes over the top of both defenders like it was an alley-oop in the NBA game and took it off the backboard. And it's that type of ability on the outside. But then you see him on the inside as a slot receiver or a movement guy. And then you see the ability to find soft spots in zone, right? Find those vulnerable spots. But this is where I think he could be special, right? We talked about Malik Neighbors and why some people had him over Marv in this past draft because of the run after catch ability. Travis Hunter is special with the ball in his hands. You talk about spatial. I was
about to say from what style, right? Because I think Malik, we talk about Malik Neighbors, right? He was, can we say contact balance, power, physical run after the catch? What is Travis Hunter's A trait as far as run after the catch ability? Like what does he put out there as far as from a prospect?
Elusiveness, make you miss. You know what I mean? I think it was the Nebraska game. Caught a ball in the middle of the field and had two defenders closing in and actually made them run into each other. You know what I mean? Just like the things he's able to do, catch the ball across on the drag route, two-step a guy, then hit a spin move, be able to really make guys miss in tight, condensed spaces.
And this might not be a bad comparison as a wide receiver. Is it Jerry Jeudy-esque?
Similar. Just what I think the athleticism is more in Travis Hunter's favor, but similar. That
Okay.
Jerry Judy,
Because Travis is a
Arthur
wiry
Smith.
guy. Yeah, because Travis is a wiry guy. So I was trying to think of somebody. Then I know, honestly, what made me paint that picture was when you said he made two defenders run into him. I was at LSU. I was on the sideline when he did that at LSU, when Jerry Judy did that. And I
I
was like,
remember that
okay.
play.
Yeah, I was like,
I
okay.
remember that play. Judy at Bama was different, man. I hope we get to see that again in Cleveland. With a better situation. But yeah, I mean with Travis, man, like, and like the thin wiry frame it's going to come with the drawback, right? If guys can get hands on, can they kind of slow him and throw off his throw off his timing, and being able to pair that with the drop of the quarterback and just take away the synchronization between him and his passer, right? But again, I think he can play he may not be a traditional X for you, but he can play it if you want to pull him off the line of scrimmage. But he can work as a Z, he can work as a slot, like the shallow crossers, the quick hitches, the in cuts, and then also he gives you everything in terms of I think it was against, oh man, I forget which game it was. He had a couple plays like this where one of them was called back. He makes ridiculous diving catches, not just interceptions, but at DB, but also as a receiver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where I think, they put it out there. The ball was thrown a little bit too far in front of him. It wasn't Shador. That was after he got hurt. And you just saw him lay out full body, like some of those old school Madden animations where it's just full, just stretch of the frame and go out and grab the ball. Ref said he didn't fully bring it in. I disagree with the refs because that was I disagree. But like just with him, man, I think this is a guy you can funnel the passing game through, right? And when you look at what he was able to do last year, only 57 receptions, 721 yards receiving. He had 5 total touchdowns. And again, this is playing both sides. Like if he plays only receiver, he's probably a 1,400 yard receiver, Keith. Like that connection he has with Shador is special, man. So for me, I think this young man, if he played wide receiver, he'll be a top 15 pick. Like bar none, in my opinion.
So this is what people are going to want to know before we transition. Early on, right? This is the first look. Obviously, he still has an entire year to play, but people are going to want to know: is he playing wide receiver? Is he playing cornerback for you? If you're a general manager, because here's context, right? Is that you said he's a top 5 pick at DB, but you prefer him in cover 3 scheme, right? Like a cover 3 guy, a zone guy. But you say he's also a top 15 wide receiver, regardless of what he does, right? So where do you play him? It like kind of, looking at that from that perspective.
The fan in me of like loving exciting football wants him at receiver, Keith. I'm not gonna lie, but
because I've seen people say they want him at defensive back, but so that's why I want to have a conversation.
The scouting part of me, like, and just for his career, I think he would be an absolute stud corner, and I think he would be a guy you're going to give a long contract with big money to, and he's scheme versatile too.
Talking about money, Justin Jefferson just got 140 mil. So
he did. Now, and that's the thing. It's the receiver market is robust. I do have a feeling that eventually teams are going to stop cashing out that type of money to receivers. I got a feeling of that, and because it's so many of them coming in year to year that they're going to start looking at them not so much like running back, but they're going to be like, hey, I can get 1 second and third round. And we saw the Chiefs do it. We've seen other teams.
You remember I brought this up, right? Like a while ago. I was like, okay, everybody wants to devalue running backs. I guarantee you they're gonna try it with other positions. But we'll get into that, man. That's another conversation. Matter of fact, that's a draft conversation, DP. Let's have this conversation. We can square that up and talk about it, which would be really interesting context. DP, coming up next, man, I'm going to talk about interior offensive linemen from Alabama. Yes, I've been heavy in the trenches. I went Will Campbell. I went Kelvin Banks, and I had to go with Mr. 6'5", 330 pounds himself, Tyler Booker. 335, says 350 listed on the website. I'm going to talk about him coming up next.
Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your number one ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride the first time, every time, or you get your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your number one ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Keith, we're going back to the trenches in the SEC. Tyler Booker, interior offensive lineman, guard from Alabama. You said 6'5", 340, 350. He's a big dude. This is a big kid, man. So, Keith, when you looked at the film, what did the film tell you about this young man?
The size is accurate. First of all, this is a big old boy. He's a big boy on film. Well, the first thing I want to say is that I feel like I got a really good gauge from him because I was able to watch like good talent, meaning that he played against, I believe the young guy from Kentucky, his name is Deontay Walker, the interior defensive lineman.
Deion Walker, yep.
Deion Walker, I'm sorry. That's coming out this year. They play Texas, so he's seen both Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat, and then LSU, right? That's the he's seen Jordan Jefferson. I think Mekhi Wingle was hurt by that time in the year. So I feel like I got a good gauge. And then I watched the Tennessee game just to see if, there was any showing of James Pierce or anything like that. He had to go against him. But, man, this is a big, powerful guy. Wants to play in a phone booth, right? Like wants to be that road grader, wants to lean on you, wants to put his weight on you, and really get you out the way, right? That's his strength. And you even talk about in pass pro, he's a guy that he invites you to bull rush him. Like, go ahead, bull rush me. Let's figure this thing out. And I know I'm 350 and I know that I'm a naturally strong guy. And he's a guy that can sit down, right? So you talk about, those quarterbacks that need those big interior offensive linemen to sit right there in front of them to kind of build that wall in front of them. Tyler Booker is one of those prospects that has the potential to do that because of the size and the natural strength, just what he provides as an interior offensive lineman. Now, the improvements, right, or things that can be worked on is the lateral agility and spacing. People attacking his edges, right? He has to, I think he gets over aggressive, if I have to be honest, and he becomes a waist bender and a leaner into guys, and he has to learn how to sit back in his hips more, be more patient, let them come to you, focus on technique throughout the rep and not just at the beginning of the rep, but ultimately just a big, powerful guy. And I thought about some of these prospects where we talk about he's probably going to be a guy that's going to be scheme specific. Gap power teams are going to really enjoy him. Teams that run the football heavily, right? So you think about the Cleveland Browns, we say the Dallas Cowboys, but we don't know what the Dallas Cowboys are going to do at this point. Just those teams that the Baltimore Ravens, right? And I think about the Baltimore Ravens would be a good one because I think they have an interior offensive line need also. Though, and the reason I bring that up is because I think of the Cooper Beebe's, right? And where did he go? He wound up going to Dallas. I think of the Andrew Voorhees, right? Who was a guy that people had questions of him in space moving laterally, but he was able to move linearly, right? And people found value in that. But then also the Baltimore Ravens, because they drafted guys, that are really big, like Daniel Faleles and things like that. So I think that's somewhere where he will probably fall. But also we know there's an offseason, right, that he can improve his draft stock.
No, and that's like I said, watching him, like seeing him, in the glimpses I have, strong, physical, and it's just like, yeah, he wants to be he wants to be a bouncer and get you out the club. He wants to create those run lanes. And as a former running back, Keith, I love guys like that. You know what I mean? Go ahead and create that. They used to talk about on ESPN, create a seal, you get an alley. You got this type of guy. He's going to
still here, and you get an alley.
This type of guy is going to create the alley by himself if you allow him to. You know what I mean? And when you talk about the lateral, and as you were talking about some of the things he struggled with, like the lateral agility and guys that, defensive linemen attacking his edges, it sounded like a little bit like Osiris Torrance that came out of Florida.
And where did Osiris go? Osiris went in
Buffalo.
what round? Second, third?
I think second, third round, if I remember correctly. I
Okay,
think second.
that's actually not a bad comp at all because I had some of the same concerns with Osiris coming out, and I might have had a late third round grade on Osiris.
I think so.
And that's not a bad. That's honestly not a bad comp of just like if people have watched, who's listening have watched Osiris Torrance. That's not a bad comp at all for what he could potentially be, or what a type of prospect to kind of like paint him if you haven't seen him at all.
Do you think that him, like you said, the website having him listed at 350? Do you think this is a guy that probably should come down to 330 in terms of weight to help his lateral agility?
Yeah, of course. I think what he is and who he is, this appears to be a kid that's naturally strong, right? I don't think he's going to lose weight and compromise his strength. Like we talked about, like on obviously the opposite side of football, but like with a Mozzie Smith, right? How he went from, one thing to another, and then we potentially said that it compromised his strength at a point of attack. First of all, as interior offensive lineman, right? There's certain advantages you have. The snap count, which direction of the play, which, you know what I'm saying? So you can get to your step first and be able to out leverage people, first of all. But then secondly, going from 355, right? If he's 355 to 335, I think would only help him because he'll just get a little bit quicker, right? Get in better shape, and then he can be able to still move people out the way. It's not like he's going from 350 to 305, right? Like that's a 45-pound drop. I don't think there's a lot of muscle that has to be lost in order for him to lose 15 pounds.
For sure. And I think, like I said, team even going to the Patriots, a team that runs a lot of gap and power.
That's true too. Yeah.
Like
I didn't think about that because the new OC, right? Alex Van Pelt. I always want to call him Scott Van Pelt, but Alex Van Pelt. I think that yes, it's teams like that, right? All those teams that we go through and they run a lot of gap power. They want maybe the Lions, Arizona,
yeah. They have been much more physical. On with when Jonathan Gannon brought in his coaching staff, you've seen the immersion of James Conner over the last 2 years. Like I absolutely think, especially when you got Trey Benson back there, like you put a Tyler Booker on this interior offensive line, you talking about punching teams in the mouth. Like to pair him with what I think Jonah Williams and Paris Johnson, Will Hernandez, who's a big physical guy as well, who had similar concerns to Tyler Booker coming out, is like the lateral footwork and pass pro and different things like that. But I'm excited to see how his game kind of evolves, if it evolves in 2024, because what is a 12-team playoff or whatever it is this year for college football. So now you got more teams that have a chance to make the big dance, and Bama's gonna be right in the mix. So it's like being able to have that spotlight on you, protecting Jalen Milroe, but also opening that run game, opening the lanes in the run game. I'm excited to watch him in 2024.
Yeah, I think it's a matchups thing, and I think as a talent evaluator, right? That's why I like how I said earlier about the matchups. I was able to see him, kind of work, right? The Deion Walker, is it Deion Walker?
Deion Walker.
Keep wanting to call him Deontay Walker. And then, like I said, Tavondre Sweat and Byron Murphy. I feel like just the combination of those three guys and what they offer, you're getting so many versatile packages from him. So it's gonna make for an interesting case study just to see what he evolves. I watched some big boys, DP, got into Will Campbell, like I said, got into Tyler Booker, got into Kelvin Banks. So starting with the top or supposedly the top of this class, right? Getting eyes on these guys and being kind of able to round out the evaluation, and then we can have big picture conversations about the strengths and weaknesses of the entire 2025 NFL draft class. But DP, let's keep this thing going, man. We're going to one of my favorite positions to evaluate, those DBs. Man, you got to have quick feet and fluid hips, man. And we about to see if cornerback Jabbar Muhammad, supposed to be one of the best cornerbacks in the 2025 NFL draft, has that. Does he have that combination of smooth feet and quick hips? We're going to talk about that coming up next.
Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. Oregon cornerback, former Washington Husky cornerback Jabbar Muhammad, listed at 5'10", 185 pounds. Statistically, he had an outstanding season last year. Targeted 64 times, allowed only 26 completions, 351 yards allowed in coverage, only 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions. He had 15 pass breakups, and he had 2 drop picks on the season. So he could have had even more ball production if he had reeled in the 2 of those picks that he dropped. But when I looked at the tape and did a deep dive into him, this guy here is a near lockdown type of corner. You're talking about quick, like you said, quick feet, smooth, fluid hips.
What
He's
is
very
his?
patient.
What did you say his height and weight was again?
He's listed at 5'10", buck 85. So 185.
Okay, so projection nickel. How do you feel about that project? Or can he play outside? Like, is he one of those Janoris Jenkins and DJ James type guys that we really liked in the past that were kind of smaller in stature?
Yeah, I do think he can live on the outside. This kid is tough. He's physical, doesn't mind tackling, but then you see like he could play, and he's really good in that kind of off soft press type of coverage where he's going to let you do whatever you're going to do. You want to dance, you want to do all that. He's so patient and quick twitch in those short areas to where with your release, he can mirror and match it so well. I think Troy Franklin, like he got a lot of guys in the Pac-12 with that skip walk release. He loves to do off the ball. If you play, he annihilated guys with that. When he faced Jabbar the 2 times he faced him, Jabbar wasn't having none of it. He stayed square. He was patient. 1-inch type of steps, you know what I mean? Just kind of staying on the balls of his feet, being in position. I always talk about with DBs, you want to be in a position to be a reactive athlete, right? If you're flat-footed and not in the position to turn and run in any direction, you put yourself in a compromising position if you're in man-to-man. Now, can he play? He plays press bail. He could play cover 3 as well. And don't get me wrong, if you're a team that has 2 outside corners and you need a nickel, I do think Jabbar Muhammad could be a guy that you got to have that conversation with, hey, do you mind playing full-time nickel? Because he followed, I think it was the second game against Oregon. I think against Oregon, I think they tried to get him matched up in the nickel in the slot, and he played fine there. You know what I'm saying? He's not a fish out of water or anything, but I do think even being 5'10", you think about the Denzel Wards and the Greg Newsom's a little bit taller, but similar body type almost. Like those guys are just technicians. And when I watched him, that's what I saw. I saw a guy as a technician. I think his speed is good as well. Do I think he's a upper echelon elite terms of athlete? I don't have the testing numbers to verify that. I think he can stay. He stayed stride for stride for the most part with Troy Franklin, who was a 4-4 guy, who most of us believe was a 4-3 guy. That's how he played, right? So he stayed stride for stride with him, ran with him down the field. I think that's going to be the main thing. And also, I like in terms of him, where I want to see him improve. If I remember correctly, and I'm looking at my scouting report, I'm pretty sure it was making sure he gets his head around, so he can start making more of those interceptions. And being in a position to be that playmaker, because I think with him, he's going to be sticky in coverage. I think it was a play against Michigan, which Michigan won the national championship game. They tried it was in the low red. It was I think a 2-by-1 set, or it was a 2-by-1 set, and he's on the strong side of formation. They got him against Cornelius Johnson. They tried to zipper motion down to run an out route and kind of pick him off. Man, talk about playing, understanding depth. Right, let the guy who's his teammate beside him stay close to the line of scrimmage. He backs off, gives room to let that route manifest, and he's right in the hip pocket of Cornelius. James J. McCarthy throws it. It's a pass breakup. And this young man is so good in coverage and understands leveraging, pre-snap leverage, angles, body positioning. He understands all of that. So for me, I look at him and I said, listen, in this cornerback class, which this is a defensive heavy draft, that the way it's shaping up, I think that was one of the main things is to me is going to be a first round caliber player. Now you have to deal with the smaller build and frame, and some people are going to
think he's going to be able to outplay that. Like you think the talent is that special that he's going to, because that's a tough hurdle to jump over, right? Like just especially DBs. I feel like people say 6 foot is the threshold. I kind of feel like 5'11", right? Like 5'11" and a half, 5'11" and a half is usually like the threshold for corners, where teams feel comfortable or uncomfortable drafting you extremely high.
Yeah, I think he can overcome it. Just eye test. I think the arm length is fine, but getting that verified arm length, right? If he came in with darn Clark Phillips like arm length, we're gonna have a problem. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But like,
Is
you think I think about guys like Darius Williams, who plays for the Rams, who played for Raheem Morris and different things like that, like how he's been able to be successful. There's archetypes and there's players in the league that have done it. It is just a steeper hill to deal with the AJ Browns, the Cortland, those big body, strong receivers where if they're running the slant, can you work through their frame to get to the ball, right? Like if they can post you up. So that's probably going to be one of the biggest hurdles for him. And even though he's a willing tackler, he does have some missed tackles on tape. So I'm going to see him clean that up.
Yeah, everybody's gonna want to kick him to nickel initially,
nickel.
right? Based off of size. Do you feel like he has the versatility to not only play nickel but in different sets, right? We know how this happens, right? When you get bunch sets, you get 3x1s, and then sometimes you decide to box it, right? And whoever has that vertical guy. So sometimes you back up off of the wide receiver, right? So you're not even in a press situation. Sometimes you're 7 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, right? Does he have the ability to do that, to play 7 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, almost in a hybrid safety role? If that makes sense,
yeah.
Can he do that? Like, can he play some? I don't want to say middle of the field, but playing the middle of the defense in a sense.
Yeah, I think so. I think because he has outstanding instincts and
Okay.
football IQ. So there's plays just like you're talking about where they try to bunch him together. He backs off and gives that cushion 5 to 7 yards. Reads their action. Okay, we're going to switch this. There's communication between him and his teammates. They know what assignment is. Hey, listen, if they switch release here, I got outside, you got inside. Or if my guy goes on the drag, he also has the quick click and close ability to play from that 5 to 7 yard depth and trigger downhill and close the space before that drag, that shallow cross becomes a big explosive play after the catch. I just think this is a guy that teams are going, he's going to have to measure in well and everything the way teams want come the combine and then the Senior Bowl. But I think if he goes there, if he goes to Mobile, but I think from a cover standpoint, this young man gets it. He gets it done. And I love the vision. I love all the different things that he brings to the game, the instincts and everything. He's there. He's got it. And he's a technical kid.
Okay, cool. With DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to say shout out to Everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day, man. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you comment, especially if you're into the 2025 NFL scouting already, man. Let us know some of your favorite prospects. We're going to review these prospects all summer, man, and also talk about some of these really good conversations in regards to the OTAs, training camps. You know that we're a number one source, man, for NFL draft content. We definitely appreciate you for tapping in with us. But listen, I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there next to me, my guy every single day, man, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. Like we always like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube. Wherever you listen to podcasts, get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.